Pierce for kind of setting a kind of a good basis for the rest of our meeting and kind of where we're hoping to go. If anyone can't hear me, just either wave or do a chicken dance or some such, and I'll speak up. So what we're going to do now is just give a very brief kind of introduction as to exactly who Erin and I are and why we're here, and we're not just hello. And we're not just random people here, because I think it's important to know a bit about us so you can get a sense of where we're coming from and why we feel that there is a need for this community today. So just about myself, I'm doing an MA in Comparative and World Literature. I've been in UCC forever. I have various degrees and diplomas. My undergrad was in Drama and Theatre Studies and English. And you wonder how I came to looking at Cork Humanists. But I did a postgrad in Studies of Religion. I was part of the pilot scheme for the Leaving Cert Studies of Religion course and for the Junior Cert course. And I came up against fierce opposition when I would question something and why exactly we're being taught about Plato from a Catholic point of view. I really didn't see the logic behind it. And of course there was no logic, it was just because of sort of institution, and that's what we're expected to do. So I chose to study religion. So therefore by default I'm not anti-religion nor am I anti-religious. And I think this is something that's going to be raised here. And we got a lot of emails in saying, I believe in a higher power, can I come? I'm religious, can I still come to the Cork Humanists? I think it's important to note that our vision for the Cork Humanists is to have a community for the non-religious. And it'll be, what we explore will be in a non-theistic way. If people have their own belief, they are welcome to come here. I would never turn anyone away. And everyone is welcome here. This is a welcome space. But to be aware that this is a space which will explore non-religion and non-theistic beliefs. And if people are willing to come and be open to that, then I'm very willing and open for someone to come and explore that with us. And I would hope that people will be in agreement with that. But obviously, if people have fierce opposition, that this will be something we can discuss later on in the Q&A. And a bit more about myself, I'm involved in everything. I'm in every committee. If there's a protest, I'm at it. I'm on Students' Union, various societies. If I can do it, I'm there. I'm also working to put myself through college. I work in the subway, which is no mean feat for a celiac vegetarian. It is a tough, hungry job. And apart from being involved in everything I enjoy, theatre, my undergrad, popcorn, and my dogs, this is dog 1 with the biggest ears ever, and dog 2 who insists on an iceberger every time we go to a shop. So that's just a bit about me, where I come from. Again, relatively normal person, like to get involved, and really I think my enthusiasm for being involved in everything was kind of what brought me to somewhere like this, to get involved and to create a space and to try and be a facilitator for people here. I'm just going to pass you over to Aaron just to give you a bit about it. Aaron is the kind of partner in crime for this. He's the real brains behind Cork Humanists. I'm just the face to stand up here, smile, look good. I hope you've got my best angle. But Aaron is really the one who came to me and kind of said, look, this is a community I really want to set up, and can I help him do this? So I'm just going to get him to talk to you for a few seconds, where he's coming from and why he's fantastic and why he should talk to you about this.
Hi lads. So I said hi to a lot of you already at the door. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I have a degree in psychology. I'm originally from Youghal, a little village outside Youghal called Gertrude. It's actually from Pilmore, but that's more of a street with 6 houses on it. So I appreciate the role of community and the role it can play in people's lives from a psychology point of view. Socially, culturally, psychologically, it has a great role to play in people's lives, and I appreciate its importance. It turns out then after finishing psychology I want to be a teacher, so I'm currently working as well to put myself through college. I work in a student accommodation as a warden. I'm the person who goes around going, keep it down now lads. But firm, fair and friendly, that's my motto. I enjoy reading and watching sci-fi films, and that's about it really. I suppose I'll address any questions you have later in the Q&A. I'll leave the rest of the stuff up to Annie. Okay, so thanks.
Why didn't he get a clap. Why did he get a clap? Okay, so I suppose we may as well go into why Erin and I wanted to set up Cork Humanists. And the first point is very self-explanatory. It seems like a good idea. Clearly, there are far more people than we expected to show up here, so obviously other people think it's a good idea, so we are onto a winner. And as based on the humanist philosophy, Erin and I care deeply about the values of compassion and reason, moderation and pluralism, which are encompassed by the humanist philosophy, which is, I really think, is a really important and a good point to start your life off, and why you do things, your moral source code and stuff like that. And Erin and I wholeheartedly believe in the importance of having a space for these values to be kind of appreciated and to be celebrated, and these are such important things. Why to do things, why to be good, not because someone up here or down here or over there or wherever they come from tells you to do that, not because you're born with original sin, you have to spend the rest of your life getting rid of it, because you're good for goodness sake, which is a motto that I think is a really good one. Just be good for goodness sake. And it's really important, we think, for a community, for a space for people who also believe these things and who are not involved in a religious community, to facilitate and to create a space for those. And I think when other people see that people have a space and that everyone's relatively, again, like I say, the word normal, we're not all mad, crazy, anti-religious Satanists, although some would argue that's a religion. People, everyone is just here just to explore these ideas, these philosophies, and to try and facilitate them into their day-to-day living. So this is something that we really think is important, and this is why our basis, like how can we get other people involved? How can we facilitate this community? So kind of when Erin and I were talking about setting up this community, we're like, great, we're going to be good, we're going to be humanists, we're going to be thing. And we're like, well, how are we going to put this into concrete terms? How are we going to kind of work on this? So we kind of came up with a bit of a wheel with spokes coming out of it. And hopefully, as time goes on, as the community grows and develops, we're going to get loads more spokes coming out of it, of what other people want. This is just what Erin and I have come up with to kind of kickstart everything. This is not definitive. This is not what we are doing, and we must do this. This is just something we can work off. And through our research and through various other humanist communities, we looked at the Ohio humanist community, Fellowship for Free Thought from Texas. We met up with Jeremy Rodell, who is the founder of the Southwest London Humanists. We went to Norway to go to a humanist conference. We went all the way up there. So we've really tried to kind of get as broad a sense of what humanist communities do around the world, so we can bring this to our little tiny minuscule spot in Cork and try and found that. So a really important aspect that we found for humanist communities around the world was education, getting in speakers, having workshops on things that are really important to the community. For example, next month we're hoping to have speakers in on the topic secular education, which I know is such a prominent topic at the moment in Ireland. Rory Quinn is talking about secular education. We're going to get all the schools back. No, we're near getting any schools back, but we live in hope. So that's a topic that may not be of interest to everyone in the room, but it'll be a topic of interest to a lot of people. And then hopefully the month after we'll have a topic that'll be of interest to other people. And we'll constantly try and keep topics that everyone can be involved in. And if there isn't something you're interested in, it's really important to say to us, look, you're doing really boring things and we really want something more interesting. We're hoping for December to have a workshop/talk on humanist ceremony and ritual creating within the family. I know Christmas and stuff is kind of a time for people of the non-religious community, so we want to explore how to create your own traditions without losing something that was really important to you being brought up with. And that's, I'm going to facilitate that with someone from the HAI. So it'll be an exploration of sort of hardcore ceremony and creating your own family in the home or in your community ritual. So we're hoping that those, for example, will be talks and things that will be of interest to people here. Which then brings us on to the social aspect. We are social beings. No one wants to sit and listen to me talk all day, even though I'm fantastic. But so social aspects. So one aspect we found was, for example, I don't know if you know the Cork Humanists. They have a monthly book club. And there's only about 4 or 5 people who go to that. But that's a really important part of their community that brings those people together, and they read whatever, they choose the book together, they just meet up in a pub or in a cafe. It's not huge, it's not a big massive booking a room in the Imperial, but it's a really important thing to try and keep a community together. And I'm not saying we have to have a book club, we can have a music group, whatever people are interested in socials. We also talked about there are loads of families here, which is just amazing that families want to get involved in this. And what Erin and I would really like to do would be to facilitate, either if it's like a family games night, a parent meet-up, for people just discuss issues or whatever it is that comes up being a humanist, raising children. And Erin and I are here to facilitate that meeting. And we're not here to run it. I don't have children. I'm not going to talk about that. But what we would like to do is to come together and try and facilitate that meetup. So if people want to come up and afterwards, and we'll try and organise times and places and names and stuff like that. We also talked about, first of all, we won't be in this venue ever again, because, so we're going to be moving to a different venue, which is a venue that they're very open to the idea of us having things like potlucks or meals or bringing our own stuff. A potluck is where different people bring different kind of meals and everyone helps themselves and has a good old chat. Stuff like that, kind of bringing people together and just being sociable for sociable sake. You know, it's not having a hardcore talk, it's not having a hardcore protest. It's just coming together where everyone can be together in a space, chat, share food. And I mean, food is a tradition in Ireland. We're talking about traditions, how we can incorporate old traditions with new traditions. And I think food giving and food sharing, especially in Ireland, is such an important one. So I think it would really be a great thing if people were interested in doing that. And then we kind of move on to the platform, where a lot of humanist communities work as kind of platforms to kind of the community bring their voice to the group and say, look, do you know what, secular education is really, really important to me, and I want to have my voice heard within Ireland about secular education. The HAI, the Humanist Association of Ireland, up in Dublin, even though they're all over Ireland, have done huge amount of work with Rory Quinn and stuff, and they're constantly advising and assisting. And we'd like for something, if Cork Humanists want to get involved in something like that. And we're not saying it just has to be secular education. It can be legislation, it can be equal rights. But we would like, if people have a voice that they want heard and they don't know how to go about it and stuff like that. I'm a long-standing campaigner. I'm at every protest and everything. And I'm not saying we have to go out with placards, but there's a lot to be said for letter writing and stuff. And to have a Cork Humanist name behind that, as a community, we're standing together and we're saying, we want this changed. We want equal rights for our children. We want equal rights for people in government. We want equal rights for everyone. You know, every day we're constantly faced and battled with discrimination. And discrimination against the non-religious is I think a silent discrimination that is not heard about a lot. You constantly hear religious people, we're being so discriminated against, we don't get involved in anything. It's like, actually, it's the other way around. You're constantly faced with, when are you having christening? Which church are you having your wedding in? Are you swearing this oath? Are you doing this? It's constantly coming up against the non-religious. And, you know, I think this is a really good place for us to have our voice heard and said, you know what, no, we're sick of this. We're sick of constantly being described in relation to religion. We want to live in a secular society, and what we want is for everyone to be described as human beings and then for everything else to come afterwards. So I'd really like for Cork Humanists to be used as a platform for this voice, if that's what everyone wants. And then kind of moving on to charity, if we're talking about being good for goodness sake, I would possibly suggest that the logical and reasonable conclusion to that, as we are logical and reasonable people, would probably be to go out and help others. And we don't have to just say, no, we're not helping you because you're a religious charity, or no, we're not helping you because you're this. It's a place, I think, a lot of people in this room probably hold something very close to their heart, whether that be a charity that deals with some form of illness, whether that be cancer, various things like that, Hodgkin's, Alzheimer's. I personally be very involved in marriage equality, LGBT noise. There could be people who are involved in Meals on Wheels. There are umpteen charities around the place. And I'm sure a lot of people are heavily involved with these charities. And I'd really like if people could feel that Cork Humanists could be involved with these charities too. You know, I personally am really open to being involved and getting involved with the community on as many levels as possible. So I would think that education, social, as a platform and charity combined together, I think are a good 4-point kind of kick-off for us to work off. So, but this is something we can discuss. We're going to have a Q&A in a few minutes where people can ask us and kind of question how, what, who, where, when, why, stuff like that.